Hey, welcome back. I'm Kimile, and you're listening to Heal with Kimile podcast. When people come to see me, I'm a lot different than traditional therapist. I'm a clearing practitioner. So when I sit with people, what I'm really listening for and looking for is for the real source of the pain. We don't have issues in life unless we have pain. Meaning life happens, something happens, divorce or something happens in your childhood, someone dies. We don't comprehend why. We start wanting to know why that happened because it hurts us. And so when we start having an emotional reaction, we are seeking some sort of understanding of why that happened. And so if we can make sense of it by saying, well, it must be my fault. It must be too much to handle. Or if I were a boy or if I were a girl or whatever, it's somehow our fault. And if we could just fix ourselves, fix what's wrong with us, then we wouldn't be in this kind of pain. And I think people blame themselves for things that really aren't their fault at all, because it helps them feel like they have a little control over it. If life is just random and we have no control over it and bad things happen and they leave us in pain, that's the kind of world we can't handle being in. So how do we find ground? How do we find, control? We make it about us. We make it about ourselves. And again, when we're kids, it's probably not at all about us. We're just in the wrong place at the wrong time, or going through someone else's cycle and we're with them and they're doing whatever they're doing. So if we make it mean something about ourselves, now we're stuck. That's what causes absolute chaos in our lives. We make it mean something about us. So the minute we add a judgment to it, an emotion to it, this should not be this way. This is not supposed to happen. It's against my ideas. It wasn't my expectation. The failed expectation is the origin of every upset, because it's supposed to go this way. And even if we didn't really have a plan, it just didn't go according to what we had expected. So in life happens to everybody. Things are going to happen all your life that you have no control over. But if you react to that like something's wrong here, then your life's going to be a mess. That's just flat out true. And traditional therapy is very useful. People that get results in that, great. I have no problem with that. I don't prescribe medication. I don't want people to be numbed out. I want them to be able to process when they're sitting in front of me. So if people are on a lot of medications and stuff, I'm going to want to go into emotions. I'm going to want to talk about real feelings, and it might be uncomfortable in a conversation. People that are on medication, they're numb. They can't handle it at that point. They don't want to feel. So, what I'm looking for is really, where have you believed a lie? Where did you make something up about yourself or about the world or love or, whatever subject, pick a subject. You made something up about it, therefore it's not functioning, it's not working. How you have trauma somewhere. And I think trauma is so overused right now, but it is what it is. And so wherever you have trauma, or I call it a shock or some sort of failed expectation, wherever you had that in your life and you couldn't handle it, you didn't process it well, you don't understand it, you are living a lie. So people have a lot of money stories, a lot of money stuff, and they've tied it up into their worth, and they've tied it up into how their parents loved them. And if you love me, you'll, buy me, or I can never have it. So there's all these conversations we have about money. Money is just a function. It's income, or it's some sort of coming in energy. It's a currency, and it's payment for services rendered or payment for something. It's a trade. It's an energy trade. Money's just an energy. But we make it mean so much. We tie it into our worth. And I've got a sweet, dear friend of mine, and she was raised in a lot of religion growing up. And so she is a kind of a beggar, so money doesn't come to her naturally. It doesn't flow to her naturally. She has to really submit herself. And I will watch her choose the path of torture instead of abundance, because she doesn't deserve money. She doesn't deserve anything. And that's, again, her upbringing. She's got to be pious and poverty for God to bless her. She's so grateful for, a morsel of food. It's really hard to be with that. It's hard to see that. It's painful, actually. It's really painful because it's not true. It's just not true. There's no God in poverty. There's no nobility in poverty. But some people are stuck in these belief systems that have held them captive for a long time. And how do you know you're stuck in a belief system? Because you don't have the life you want. You're not living a life of authenticity. It's not aligned with your true calling. You don't feel like you're sourcing at the source of your results in your life. So when people come to see me, think of a sideways figure eight. Here's a little. I'll try and describe this. And on the left side, you got this bubble, that figure eight, and it's all the lies and beliefs that you've got that really aren't serving you, that keep you trapped, that hold your power, that prevent you from getting what you really want out of your life. It keeps you small. It's where you feel helpless and powerless. And it's all about your past. It isn't the future. It's not the present time. It is your past. Call it your baggage. So when they come to see me, I'm going to go, I'll do a little diagram and I'll write down, okay, where's your life working? Where's it not working? And that's a good barometer to see where people are stuck. So I'm looking to see where you've got trapped energy, trapped belief system, where you made something up about yourself. And so I'll go through and list all that stuff out. And then, in the figure eight, there's that little skinny part in the middle. And that's where you start processing all of this past stuff. And that's where I come in. I'm the skinny part in the middle. And I'm going to help you figure out and process all the stuff that you haven't really completed from your past, within reason. People start, when the truth starts coming out, it's interesting because all of that past stuff, when the truth comes out, it does set you free. I've got thousands and thousands of stories of people realizing that something wasn't really their fault. Again, I had a recent teenager that's come to me, and her dad went to rehab when she was 7 years old. And in her mind, when I sat in front of her, I said, well, tell me about your life and where do you feel stuck? And it's with boys, and I really don't trust them, and I don't want to date, and I'm terrified, and all these different things. And it's natural for her age group to be in that conversation. But then when she said to me, my dad, I said, tell me about your father, any brothers, men in your life, talk about men with me. Well, when my dad left me at age 7, well, what do I know right there, right? What do you know right there? She has personalized daddy leaving. Daddy left her. He didn't leave to get off heroin. Okay. He left her because at 7, how do you comprehend that, honey, I've got an addiction. I'm not going to live if I don't go to rehab. I've got to leave. I've crossed some boundaries with your mother. I've got legal trouble. I'm court, or I've got to go. I've got to go to rehab, or I'm not going to, I want to exist in your world. So how does she process that at 7? Even if she sat down and a counselor's telling her, or family members are saying, this isn't your fault, honey. Daddy loves you. He's just got to go save his life. She's not going to be able to track that or comprehend that at 7. She's still personalizing that he left because she's got a gap of time in her life where dad wasn't around. And uncles are going to daddy-daughter things, and she didn't want him there. All the life experiences she would have because dad wasn't there, right? A lot of memories that without dad. And then it must be her fault. So I said, okay, well, tell me how, what did you do to get rid of your dad? And logically, what can a 7-year-old really do to get rid of their parent? It's impossible. Like, that's silly. But I have to go on that narrative with her because that's what she's thinking. So I say, let's track this. What did you decide about you as a result of your dad leaving? He leaves at 7, meant what about you? If I stop and ask you that question about your past, this happened, and what did you make it mean about you or life or fathers or men? You're going to have a hard time remembering exactly what you decided at the moment of that shock or trauma, whatever word you want to use. But a moment of shock is literally when that happened, and her life was altered forever because her dad's gone. And she was daddy's girl. Loved her daddy. So when that happens to her, she decided, I'm not lovable. I can't trust men. They don't stick around. Love doesn't last. He was kidding me. He was tricking me. He'd never loved me. So she had all these ideas that ran through her head that she believed. She took on at age 7, 8, 9, thinking that it was her fault. Something was wrong with her. Daddy couldn't handle her. She was just too much to handle. She was too angry or whatever. Everything that went wrong in her life, see, this is why dad had to leave me. And she had lived like that was true. So what are the consequences of living like that lie is true? Well, she doesn't trust men, doesn't have close relationships with men. She doesn't have a lot of confidence. She looks in the mirror and doesn't see a beautiful, amazing, talented young woman. She sees somebody that nobody could love. She's a little prickly. She's distant. She's, untrusting. So she presents as guarded. And people will, they'll make that mean, oh, she's mean, or she's a bitch, or, she just thinks she's somebody. No, she just thinks she's nobody, She doesn't feel good enough ever. And so she can't have perfect grades. She can't have perfect anything. She kind of plays mediocre in life because she's undeserving. She's unworthy because she made her dad leave. So all of this stuff, and this little skinny part is where most of the conversations happen because that's where I have to get people to see that you are living in this fantasy that you have self-proclaimed. It's your own sentence. You've sentenced yourself to whatever reality you're in because you believed a lie. And the lies are the judgments. The lies are how we make something mean something. It's in our opinion. It's not truth. It's not factual. You look up in the dictionary, what does truth mean? Actual occurrence, factual event. There's no make wrong in that. There's no emotion in that. In fact, when you hit the truth of something, that aha moment, I call it, and I live for those. I love those aha moments, right? But when people have this cognition of, oh my gosh, that's the truth. No, this is the truth. Not that. It's almost a release of charge. It's a release of that energetic charge that is tied to this memory or tied to this narrative. And I find that, only the lies, only the lies will kind of keep you down. They'll keep you in that low vibe. But once you locate the truth of a situation that you've been pretending or living a lie, you believed it. You believed that you were the reason daddy left, She believed that. So once I helped her see, okay, well, exactly what did you do to get dad to leave? Well, I don't know. Well, but it's your fault. You think it's your fault. So I really had her, go through that. And then she told me what she had decided about herself. And this takes a little time to really kind of process yourself. And then I said, well, let's get him on the phone. Let's get dad on the phone. Because this is, he's actually having me work with her because he's actually running a rehab facility now. He's an extraordinary human being. But he notices that his daughter is very distant. And he was out of her life for years because he couldn't contact anybody, right? This was kind of part of his program. So once he tried to reconnect, wow, there was a block there. She didn't trust him and he didn't know what to do. So I get to be the one that helps, awaken her to the truth. And then when dad's on the phone and I say, well, dad, when you left her at 7 and instantly, because he's done all of his work, he knew. He's like, oh no, right? So that's the tear breaker. That's the moment of just pain. Because you just know this little girl has suffered and thought that it was her fault for all those years. Sorry. I love what I do. I love working with people. I love getting people to see the truth. And when they see the truth, it does set them free. And I'll tell you, just me saying that, when she said when you left her, that was, he knew exactly what to say on cue. And he's like, oh my gosh, I didn't leave you. Honey, I was going to die. I literally had to leave her. I was going to die. And so that opened up, oh my gosh, just a puddle of tears and letting her cry and realize. And she said to me, it wasn't my fault. I said, no, baby, how could it be your fault? You were 7. How could it be your fault? Sorry, I'll collect myself. But these are the moments. These are my moments every day that I get to have with people when they realize that something that I believed in, and it's harmed me to believe that, really isn't true. And I'm seeing this so much more. I mean, I feel like people, humanity is just kind of waking up to not wanting to be tied to or stuck in their past or trapped by some sort of belief system that doesn't serve them anymore. I'm seeing so much breakthrough and so many people really wanting to, come to me and, okay, dig in. And I really want to process this issue. And so I need to see where I'm stuck and where I'm living a lie. You can do that. You're the one driving your therapy with me. You're the one driving the process with me. I like to call it processing, not necessarily therapy, because I'm going to help you process where you have been living a lie, where your life isn't working. So miracles happen all the time in front of me. I wish I had a camera, where I had people recorded doing these things, because it would be such great, valuable lesson. And people, I think, would just process themselves right along watching that. I just can't invade people's privacy, right? So that's why I did the podcast, because I wanted to share, all these amazing stories and things that I go through with clients so people can understand that you don't have to suffer anymore. In fact, that you're suffering is the problem. You're not supposed to suffer from life. You're supposed to learn from it and move forward and heal and grow and let it shape and change you, but not necessarily in a bad way. You don't have to be trapped by your opinions about yourself from the past. People are so stuck in their high school era of how they do their hair, how they look, or where they fit in high school. And that I wasn't the popular girl. I was the, this or that, or I wasn't the jock. We kind of get typecast. And so all of that too, it does have a huge impact. The consequences of anything we say, yep, that's me, or that's not me. or this has been my fault. I'm telling you, it creates a whole world based on when you say, that's me, that's what I am. Now, the universe is going to let you be right. It's going to say, yep, this is you. This is how you are. And so that's how we create our identities. But what if these identities are outdated? What if we aren't supposed to just be that person anymore? A lot of people that are pleasers, they're pleasers and they can't say no. They can't displease anybody. Well, that's a disease. I mean, it's a pleaser disease, That's self-abuse at some point. And maybe it was how you strategized to get through life. You're the eldest child. Your mother had 5 kids. You got to help her because if you don't help her, you're not loved. And these kids need you and she needs you. And so you develop an identity around that. And it's your winning formula. I mean, it's how you get through life. You're a helper, you're a pleaser, and bosses love you because you don't ever say no. But on the inside, you're dying. You can't keep doing this. Or you marry somebody that just continues to just let you generate for them, but you're burning out. There's got to be a way to exit out of that job that you self-imposed. You were helped by your environment. These things don't just come on randomly. These identities come on with their environment. But it's like people have to start looking at, how can I change? You really can change. You really can change who you are, how you show up in life. And there's no better time than right now. No better time to jump in and discuss how you positioned yourself in life, how you wound up being this way. It's all not by chance. It's all exactly as it was supposed to be. There's nothing wrong here. It served you. But what if there's a whole new life expression for you? What if you actually could believe that something isn't necessarily all your fault and you could have a whole new life, a whole new loving experience of yourself? You can realize how precious you really are and how precious your inside is, and your authenticity and your truth, your real feelings, your real sacred stuff. What if that could be really what you honor and not live life to make sure it's all okay out here? I watch people and I think that little skinny part in the meantime with this figure 8, that's the place where we go to just go, I need to reset. And so I'm going to collapse this other side and I'm going to grow into a new future to live into. And that's what I love to create with people. And so what I've done with this young girl and her dad is we've created a structure for there to be continual contact, continual connection, because that's required. What's been missing for her is actually real connection with her dad. Yeah, they might be in the same room. Yeah, they might be on the phone call, but they're not connected. They're not real with each other. That energy isn't, going back and forth of love because she's guarded. She's blocking that. And I see why. We all know why now. And she had gotten some fights. She was angry. So daddy's like, hey, you need to talk to her. And not that anybody's wrong in her past, but I don't know if she would have heard it even if they said, he didn't leave you, honey. But that she realizes now he didn't leave her. It wasn't by choice to walk away out of her life that he left. He left out of pure necessity. And it's a dang good thing he did, because in 8 years, he's transformed who he is for the world. And he was a heroin addict turned into a amazing healer. And he's literally running a rehab facility right now. Incredible story. And I'd love for him to be the model of, I'd love the government to kind of take on this project and have him be the model for recovery. It's a long-term sobriety community support system. It's incredible. So anybody have any need for that? I've got a connection for you. So reach out to me. You can find me on my website or you can leave a comment here below the video. But now that this little girl has seen the truth, she realizes it's not her fault. And she had that aha moment, tearful breakthrough. Now the creation is, okay, we're going to have routine, even daily text messages, but like some sort of connection routinely. They went on a cruise. They planned some more trips together. He still lives out of state, but they're making many efforts to just get on video calls and talk. And he's watching her, play her sport, via video. Like there's definite creation of him staying connected and him observing, and then speaking to her as dad. And just saying, I'm so proud of you. I missed out on so much. I can't miss another thing. Like he's just doing what he needs to do to help this little girl heal. And it's working. It's totally working. I'm just watching her. In the beginning, she was unwilling to kind of visit with people that he is surrounding himself with now. She felt replaced, so she doesn't want to just, oh yeah, that's great. I'm so glad you're close to my dad. She wants to be close to dad. So she's starting to say these truthful things. And I'm kind of helping her do that. So it's like, okay, well, what haven't you said to dad? What do you need to say to dad? And so she's saying the hard things like, I want more time, or I'm jealous of that. I don't want to spend time with her. I want to spend time with just you and me. Like she's just stating what she needs. And as she does that, he's not resisting it. He said, okay, great. Let's make this work. Or I can do it this time. Like he's accommodating what he needed to do. This is his first child. So he's making sure that she feels like she's not left out and she's loved. So healing magic is happening. They're on their way to an incredible, great story of reconnection and love. And I do believe this little girl is not going to, fight off boys anymore. And she's going to have true relationships. She won't distrust. She's going to find love. So if this is something that you want to experience yourself, if you want to discover what's kept you trapped and the lie you're living about yourself, I'm great at this. This is my wheelhouse. I've been doing it for a long time. You should reach out to me at healwithkimile.com. Heal, Heal, with KIMILE.com. And we can schedule some time together. I work on the phone. I do FaceTime. I do Zoom calls. I see people one-on-one. So any way you need me to contact you, I can do that. Thank you for listening. And again, I wish you nothing but the best and for you to be your authentic self. Bye now.